Hi everyone, this is Karak from ACG, bringing you another review for another day for another game. Today I'm stoked to bring you the review for Renowned Explorers International Society by Abbey Games, the long-winded name for a game about a group of adventurers that go out and greet new civilizations the only way that seems to work: hugs. Well, hugs, high fives, and the occasional gut stabbing. Sound odd? Well, it is. In a way, it's like rock, paper, scissors got replaced with hug, Nita the Pecker, and rousing speech. I wasn't sure what to make of it, so let's see what happens when turn-based exploratory gameplay meets loving one another to death so effectively it hasn't seen this level of success since the 60s. The real question is, does Renown get lost in its own gameplay in an almost belligerent attempt to show off its unique look like Airscape or Submerged? Or does it sit solidly down and crazy, melt a fuck ton of crayons, and smash that crap all over its face, just delighting and being absolutely nuts, but upon closer inspection, that sanity behind those eyes can be seen. Remember, this review is caffeinated. It's going to go with the buy, wait for sale, rent, or never touch it again rating scale, and subscribe if you like it. So here's the review for Renowned Explorers International Society. Gameplay is up first. As I said, this game is turn-based isometric gameplay, where you start out putting together the team that will go out and perform their meet and greet with other lands. From a list of various classes like the scientists, scouts, fighters, and the dreaded speaker, think a college professor as a way with words so brutal that they can make you almost always want to join their side or piss yourself in abject horror. Each character you choose has various statistics that all feed into the core gameplay. Gone are the ice, fire, lightning combos of many fantasy turn-based games, and they're instead replaced by attacks that are devious, aggressive, or friendly, and the entire game is based on those core mechanics. Additionally, you have skills which augment your character's attributes like their speech attack power, armor, or even their abused spouse power known as grit, which is basically your ability to withstand mental anguish from their various friends and enemies trying to babble you to death with words and curses. This is the first game where the sentence "you're a terrible person and will amount to nothing" could possibly be considered a pep talk. To some, this might be disconcerting. To me, it was absolutely charming. After you put together your team, you head out into the wild, exploring an ever-growing set of locations, of which you can choose many after the very first tutorial area, of course. Now, each location has hints as to what you might find and what's located there, sort of like signposts on a freeway, except replace food and restroom signs with signs of people dying and the occasional sweet ash treasure. It's all very visual and easily identified, and the HUD is really a thing of beauty, with almost everything being detailed when you hover your mouse over any part of the screen. Your goal is, of course, to be the most awesome, amazing, absolutely incredible adventurer, which basically means going places, accepting various skill-based challenges, collecting renown, building loot, and fighting locals. Now, as you attack or defend with the prior mentioned skills, you end up changing the attitude of the battle, which does change dramatically, resulting in various bonuses being applied depending on the overall attitude. For example, if you beat the living crap out of enemies, the battle begins to turn bloody, and the climbing various status updates like tense to escalated to how do I run from this bloodthirsty pro wrestler all feed into the gameplay. Each overall attitude has its own ladder of bonuses and negatives that are applied. Additionally, the game rewards you differently depending on how you ultimately win the battle. Sometimes gaining a friend, sometimes getting information, all depending on each battle and how it played out. Now, that doesn't mean that just winning in a peaceful way will always get you a friend or vice versa. In fact, they've done a really good job of mixing that up. The adjustments and attention to detail are next level here, and it can take a while to understand the various nuances of the battle system, as almost all of the attitudes can at some point cause you to be weak to another type of attack, resulting in a drunken to and fro battle at the very end between cursing Scottish fighters and debating scouts that look like they're from a pro basketball team. Team makeup doesn't usually make or break battles or exploration, but it can make particular locations that you're trying to explore a bit touchier to negotiate, requiring some Mensa level tracking of both your attacks, enemy statuses, and the battle's overall atmosphere, and of course the various equipment and skills you can gather. It was about this time I started to realize that the developers had lost their mind and delved into wearing footed pajamas and never leaving the office, because there's just an absolute, almost mind-numbing bevy of things you can do here. And even once you return home and start buying equipment and send your explorers to guest lecture and lobby for support within the Explorers Guild itself, that also rewards you with additional bonuses upon mission completion. The game's true depth started to become known to me, and it's one of the deepest games I think I've seen in a long time, especially within this genre. Now, that doesn't mean it's always easy, because honestly, it's one of the most deceptively deep games I've ever experienced, with an almost headlong dive into the various subsystems and strategies within maybe the first half hour. You're never without help, however, and the tutorials do lead the way from time to time, but I did find that there was overall a lot to keep track of, especially when you just jump right in. Your goal is, of course, to outscore your other adventurers, and in the end, be the man or woman who takes home the crown. And honestly, good luck with that, because here team wipe isn't a good name for a gross activity. This is when you make a mistake or get caught out in the open and are turned into a bloody streak of men, parts, and equipment by one of the various assorted crazy bad guys, of which there seems to be thousands. The game is straight up hard at times, with razor-thin victory pulled from the grasping jaw of defeat time and again, and of course, the reverse being true. Perhaps, maybe more true. Celebrating victory early here is the same thing as basically inviting defeat, because if you ignore or push an attack over a status effect that you shouldn't, you're simply dead. It really is an exquisitely elegant series of gameplay systems in a way that I just had never thought of mixing them before. Graphics are up next. This is at times a cartoon come to life. Though the animation is indeed lean even during battles, the aesthetic is an eye-pleasing mix of somewhat outlandish cartoons with over-the-top characterizations for all characters and enemies. Like a character I instantly dubbed Joe Bob, the goat-whiskered arsonist, a dastardly swordsman extraordinary and plenipotentiary whose main attack is dancing a bit and then lancing enemies' stomachs like a human-sized boil. Everything is character here, enemies and good guys combined. That being said, the overworld map is fairly simple and installs an almost board game-like look, informing you of various collections of items and trinkets like insight, research, gold, and status and treasure, all of which do other things. Now, at the same time, the turn-based battles have both environmental and location-specific appearances that do wonders to keep you interested, whether you're a green-behind-the-ears first-time explorer or a full-time land grabber, seeking to snuff out all indigenous life as you explore, kill, and high-five enemies until they die. It's not amazing, but it's colorful and full of excellent artistic atmosphere that has what looks like an ex-Harlem Globetrotter who fell in lime paint fighting a chick dressed like Cleopatra and never bats an eye through the entire thing. In fact, the game could have just been called Halloween Ransack the Crap Out of Your Land Edition, and it probably would have been fine. Sound, music, and voice. Sound is up first, and it's excellent, and it helps because with so many characters all having their own unique skills and attacks, if they were commonplace, you would most likely just go insane. Instead, here whips crack, explosives shower friend and foe with cartoon insides, and blades stabbity stab. It's all cartoony enough without being overly simplistic, and the various reward screens are suitably high in the sugar level and high tones that can easily remind you of a slot machine. I really liked the sound. Music. Man, oh man, I did not like it. Whether it was a rambling cacophony of what sounded like just different instruments taking turns in the track like they were wrestling one another in a tuba versus violin death match, or just the fairly discordant moments in other tracks, everything, aside from one or two songs within the game, made me want to turn the music off. It doesn't fit the graphical aesthetic at all, and just isn't that good, bouncing around like it's lost almost all the time. I'm not sure what they were going for, maybe drunk native instrument environmental. If so, they nailed it. Otherwise, not for me. Voice. None. So let's move on. Fun factor. What the hell is going on? Hammer time. That's pretty much the sentence that describes the game. Mixing and matching explorers in absolutely hilarious ways, outfitting them with various things like a monkey wrench that's somehow used as a defense for angry words because that makes sense, and all manner of assorted things you can do in the game never stopped being enjoyable. It's a true surprise in a way that, because a game like this could have easily been caught up in its own desire to be over the top and lost in itself when it came to gameplay and atmosphere, but this one just never did. So I rate games on a buy, wait for sale, rent, or never talk about it or touch it again rating scale. This is a buy. In a time when many games get lost in either their artistic style, like let's say Submerged, or get lost in gameplay that isn't mimicked within the world or just doesn't make sense within the atmosphere, like let's say Airscape, here we have a game that melts gameplay with presentation, and though it may at times look batshit insane, the amazing gameplay devices beneath it shine through all the time. I love the hell out of this game. If you like the review, hit thumbs up. If you dislike the review, hit thumbs down. Subscribe if you can. If you don't want to, that's cool. Send some smoke signals to people or maybe a tweet out about the review. That's it for me. Peace out.